No, I can't.
You're down 95%. Have you ever considered selling?
No, I can't. That's a... no.
We will not. We will not sell. Down 95%. Oh, man, what a weekend it was. I got on Saturday. We talked about some of the events that took place. Obviously, last week we were covering it very closely, starting out with the rare earth mineral thing, which I guess was apparently flying under the radar. We talked about it. A lot of people were saying that no one had picked up on it. And then obviously the response from Trump, and that really set things off. We talked on Saturday about how they would probably try to smooth things over going into markets opening today. Is exactly what happened, guys. This is the same playbook we've seen now multiple times this year throughout Trump's presidency. Shock the market, right as markets close on Friday, smooth things over the course of the weekend, send Besson in to smooth things over further today. So not super surprising. Obviously, the catastrophe that we saw with a lot of people losing their ass, that was surprising. Some of the price action that we saw was pretty surprising. And I think you could absolutely say that it was a black swan event. Not necessarily the market reacting, but the way that it did and the amount of flush outs that we saw in the market. It was a truly historic day, not in a great way. So if you are newer to crypto, you're officially acclimated, guys. Everyone has to go through this. It's just like, it's part of the industry, man. And that was the worst we've ever seen as far as liquidations go and liquidation events by far. But the big story of the day, obviously, we had Trump out. We had a lot of world leaders out. Today, the peace agreement was signed. The hostages were returned. But I don't know if you all saw this interaction. This was pretty ridiculous. With Trump and Macron, the French presidents, shaking hands today. It was a little bit awkward. This is something we've seen Trump do many times. Very much a power move, I suppose. He did it with Putin as well, where he likes to have his hand on top. You see at the very beginning where he flips it over on top of him. And it became a little bit of a struggle. It was a little awkward, man. Honestly, there it is. And then someone took a close-up shot of Macron's hand after the fact. I was like, oh my God. Oh, and somehow someone got a picture of his x-rays after. And I'm just kidding. This is not real, but that's freaking hilarious. Oh, man, what a day. Obviously, in all seriousness, though, the big news, guys, was that hostages and prisoners are freed. There are still issues that remain. Good news, though, nonetheless, guys. Like, obviously, Israel and Hamas moved forward on their first key step by freeing hostages and prisoners, raising hopes that the U.S. broker deal might lead to a permanent end to the 2-year war. Says that issues such as whether Hamas will disarm and who will govern Gaza and the question of Palestinian statehood remain unresolved. So there's still a lot of unknown. The release for Israelis, the release of 20 remaining living hostages brought elation and a sense of closure. But they still are planning to fight for the return of deceased hostages. They said that 4 were returned so far. They're expecting another 24 to be turned over as in the first phase, and also allow Israel to allow a surge of food and other humanitarian aid into Gaza. So things are moving in the right direction there. So that is all good. The China situation got really interesting over the course of the weekend. It looks like the meeting is back on. Okay. And I called this out on Saturday when I did like the 10-minute stream. I was like, guys, look at the language he used in that tweet. He didn't like officially cancel their meeting. He used very carefully in the way he crafted that. In that, I don't see the point in getting together. And I think the markets really reacted to that. Expected that over the course of the weekend, they would backtrack on that, and they did. Okay, now they're saying that it's back on track. Scott Bessent said he expects Trump to meet with President Xi later this month. Says that they've had substantial communication over the weekend after Trump threatened to impose a 100% tariff that would go into effect November 1st. That's the other thing that we called out. Is that, guys, it's pretty obvious to me that they are that they were posturing for leverage, because if they weren't, then they would have put this into effect immediately. Okay, China's their restrictions on rare earth minerals, I think, you're expected to go into full play in December. Trump, this November 1st, very calculated. Obviously, they're supposed to meet at the end of the month. It wasn't like we're putting tariffs on today, right? So you kind of read into that a little bit in the timeline there. The other thing, they said, this is the tweet that Trump put out. Don't worry about China. It'll be all fine. A highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want a depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. I still have some doubts as to how much of they said that all these negotiations happened over the weekend. I was reading reports that Xi was not answering Trump's calls. Okay, so I'm not so sure that they did have these extensive conversations over the course of the weekend. I'm sure we will find out more in the coming weeks, but I don't think this is necessarily all behind us. The markets are treating it like it is, though. You saw the markets really opened up to the upside today. Crypto markets are looking good. If you look at Poly Market right now, the market's expecting 70% chance they meet this month. If you look at what are the chances that the tariff is implemented, only a 13% chance. So obviously, the markets are speaking. So they have largely put this on the back burner. People are not expecting this to be an issue. So for all the people that got liquidated, man, that sucks. I looked into this a little bit further. If you're holding spot, you're chilling, right? You might be down still a little bit, but a lot of it's largely rebounding. What's up, Kevin? But what was happening is a lot of people were trading on leverage, but using cross margin. So essentially, by using cross margin, it allows not just the trade that you're in, but it also can use the remaining balance of your portfolio to try to keep you from getting liquidated. And that's what a lot of people were using. And they didn't have proper stop losses in place, and it ended up liquidating their entire portfolio. And you saw a lot of these people were like, well, I thought that my liquidation points were not even possible to hit. We're still seeing that there were some major issues on exchanges. There's a lot of people saying right now that it was Binance that caused all this. And that their pricing oracles weren't working properly. There's a lot of reports of people that were trying to go on and buy spot on these exchanges and couldn't get their purchases to go through. So there is certainly some funny business. A lot of fingers being pointed at Binance right now. I don't think we know for certain. I still don't think we know what the full fallout is. There are some reports that the liquidations are actually much higher than what was originally reported. Either way, though, the markets have largely rebounded. A lot of that is the fact that, again, markets are not expecting this tariff to go into effect. And what's interesting about all this, I think throughout this year, we've seen a lot of countries kind of turn against the U.S. And especially after the tariffs that were implemented earlier this year, China was gaining favor with some of these countries. This whole threat of the microchips, though, is really them waging financial war against the whole world. And we're actually seeing other countries fight back here. One in particular, I haven't seen many people cover this in the news, but the Dutch government actually took control of a Chinese-owned chip maker within their country using what's called the Goods Availability Act. Oh man, my highlights went away. That's unfortunate. So it went on to say, though, that they used this Goods Availability Act on the company back in September. It says to prevent a situation in which the goods produced by this company, Nexperia, would become unavailable. So they actually used this to take ownership away from China, and they saw escalations coming amid this U.S.-China trade war. And it's a highly exceptional move, but it was to really help safeguard their industries with the threats of China basically holding back chips. In particular, I want to say it was their auto industry they're most worried about. I had it. Let's see. I had it. highlighted here, but not seeing it. But I believe it's mostly their auto industry and also like different technology companies they're mostly worried about. There it is. It comes after Beijing tightened its restrictions on the export of rare earth elements and magnets, which could impact Europe's automotive industry. So we're seeing other countries fight back here. The other thing we talked about that hasn't really gotten a lot of attention are these port fees that the U.S. and China are threatening on each other. There were some reports I saw earlier, and everyone's like, "Oh, China's put an exemption on all U.S. chips, or all U.S. ships, rather." That's not true. They are exempting Chinese-built vessels from the port fees if they're owned by U.S.-linked companies. So for a while, they were planning on putting port fees on them, even if they're U.S. owned. But as long as they're Chinese-built, there will be no port fees. But that is something that's still a threat, guys. I don't think we're completely out of the water here. Anything can escalate between now and their meeting at the end of the month. So we still have to be paying close attention to things. Right now, like the markets are majorly rebounding. I'm very bullish actually on where we are, considering the fallout that we had. We saw a lot of leverage get shaken out. I think that unfortunately a lot of people lost all of their money, but the powers that be got to buy a lot of altcoins very cheap. Okay. And now that a lot of that's washed out, a lot of times you see a major bounce back. In fact, I'm going to show you a chart. It's very similar to what we saw during COVID in that flash crash. Seeing a very quick recovery. The other thing, though, that's still out there is the government shutdown. So when is that going to end? That's a big question. Right now, the most likely scenario is this thing on Polymarkets. This is up another % here. That the expectation is this thing's going to get drawn out past November 16th. That's more than a month from now. So Bessent came out today, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, came out today and said, we're starting to see the economy be impacted by the government shutdown. There's still a lot of finger pointing going on. And now Polymarket, saying that, gosh, over a 30% chance that this thing is really drawn out. Of course, this has an impact on markets too, right? We likely won't see the spot ETFs for Solana and some of these other alts get approved until the government is back up and running again. Not to say it's impossible with the rule changes recently, but I would say it's improbable. We'll have to see how that plays out. I would expect as we see the government back up and running, on one end you have the catalyst, right? The spot ETFs should all get approved pretty quickly if they haven't already by that point. On the other end, all these job reports that we haven't been able to see, they're going to be out there. And I don't think they're going to be super pretty, okay? Some of the numbers we're seeing don't look great. So we've kind of been able to avoid that for now. But there's obviously been plenty of other things shocking the markets. Fear and greed index got down to like 20. But by the way, speaking of Polymarket, I want to spend a little bit of time on prediction markets because this is tied to crypto and something we're seeing. I covered a few months ago. But guys, the Polymarket and prediction markets in general are going to be absolutely massive. I think there's a way to actually make some money on this. But this happened over the weekend during this Gamecast. Tom Brady as an announcer. Oh, let me reshare to get the audio back here. So I don't know if y'all saw this. The audio is a little bit light on this clip. I'm not really sure why, but I'll play it either way.
Throwing 4 touchdown passes in his career. I didn't expect to see 2 Mark Andrews tush pushes, so why not? Check the Polymarket.
Check the Polymarket, Tom Brady says. Y'all, prediction markets are going to be absolutely massive. They're already huge. In fact, we saw this news just drop. The founder and CEO of blockchain-based prediction market, Polymarket, has become the world's youngest self-made billionaire. It just came out that this ICE, not to be confused with the other ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, announced Tuesday to invest as much as $2 billion in Polymarket at an $8 billion valuation. Says that ICE also owns the New York Stock Exchange, one of the largest and most powerful financial institutions, obviously. So that's a big deal. And then, if you don't remember, back in August, we covered this. Trump Jr. invested in Polymarket. They didn't disclose how much his investment was, but it was believed to be in the double-digit millions of dollars. And Trump Jr. joined Polymarket as a strategic advisor. So Polymarket making waves, obviously. And we use it a lot on the show here. And the main reason is because it's been very accurate. It says that research by data scientist, this Alex McCullough, showed the platform is around 90% accurate when predicting outcomes a month ahead of time and up to 94% accurate just hours before an event occurs. So Polymarket is very accurate. That's why I do cite it quite a bit. Man, things are running slow here on my laptop. Am I lagging a bunch? I wonder if I'm lagging. In this one I covered earlier, but this the founder and chairman of this interactive brokers group said that he believes the event contracts market will be bigger than equities market within the next 15 years. So these are, of course, prediction markets. So the reason I think that this is because the utility it provides society is well beyond the investment area. It's a vehicle to generate a consensus estimate as to where people think we are going. And as various events occur, people can see the likely influence of those events on the future. Says that it can cover all types of events, including political. We look at those a lot. Economic. We look at those. Climate, cultural events, etc. The prediction markets can act as a way to track people's sentiment towards those events before they happen. There's value in knowing what these people think about upcoming events, and value in giving them a way to express those feelings. So, dude, prediction markets are going to be absolutely huge. Polymarket's not the only one. Kalshi is another one. I thought this video is hilarious. It says, Kalshi, after hearing Tom Brady say Polymarket during today's game.
Congratulations on getting Tom Brady to talk about Polymarket during today's stream. Huge win for you guys. Huge win for the industry as a whole. We tried offering him a Kalshi badge back in the day. He didn't want it. Regardless, it's a huge win for the industry as a whole. We're super. Hey, Polymarket.
Okay. So that said, Kalshi shouldn't be too upset because they also just raised over $300 million on a $5 billion valuation. And just to show how much prediction markets are growing right now, just 3 months ago, it was valued at $2 billion, guys. This has gone from $2 billion to a $5 billion valuation in the matter of the last 3 months. Insane. I also revealed that consumers in 140 countries are making bets on its platform. All this to say, it is a good gauge, so you can use it to track economic activity, to see how markets could move, okay? But there's been a lot of speculation about this, that there could be a big airdrop. Guys, so I'm planning on putting some regular plays in on Polymarket. I cover it enough. And time again, I find ones that I'm like, okay, this could be a good one. And most of the time we've been right on the show. Oh, no, sorry, one of my videos is playing again. Unexpectedly. But as the main thing, $2 billion investment, $9 billion, more like $8 billion valuation. Either way, apparently their CEO has hinted several times at a Polymarket token. And you can see right here in this post. So he said that it's not too hard to make your way up the leaderboard in Polymarket. It's probably worth it, man, to just get a little bit of money in play in the event there is an airdrop. But prediction markets are going to be bigger than anyone realizes. Absolutely massive. And for me, if I can get a piece of an airdrop from Polymarket, I am absolutely interested in that. What about the crypto side of things? Well, this news has been circulating. I covered it on Saturday, but there was that whale that sold a bunch of World Liberty Financial token, went over, created a new account on Hyperliquid, opened up some massive shorts, and netted like $190 million. Well, CZ of Binance shared his investigation, revealing that the whale is allegedly the former Bitforex CEO worth about $10 billion. Says here, though, that Garrett denies any connection and he denies having any ties to the Trump family. And there are people out there that are saying, guys, like the chip news from China was out there for 24 hours. I'm like, yeah, I covered it on this show, but they're like, no one covered it. Maybe a lot of people weren't paying attention. I don't know. But it does seem odd to me. I guess if you're worth $10 billion, opening up, $200 million short isn't that. It's still kind of crazy, guys. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that there's no insider info in this, but maybe not. I think we need to see how that plays out. Other crypto news, Citibank is going to launch service for custody of crypto assets in 2026. I believe they have like $1.7 trillion under assets. That's pretty big. Says that this has been in the works for 2 to 3 years. So yet another large financial institution moving forward with crypto custody. Bitcoin's bounced back nicely, guys. It got down, I want to say, it got down further than that. Oh, yeah, last 7 days. Yeah, we got down. People were thinking that we're going to drop all the way down to 100,000. We did not. And we are bouncing back. That's it. Again, I don't know that we're completely out of the woods. But I think, buying the dip was a pretty good move. When you see a flash crash like that, you see that much money get wiped out. Generally, you see a recovery. We're seeing that now. Will it sustain? That whale that put a short on the markets increased their short position. So they're still betting on things going lower. I think 121,000 is the liquidation price for them. As far as I know, it's still open. A lot of people have called the market top here. I'm not so sure about that, but I think we do need to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We could still have a lot of volatility. Like I said, we still have the China situation is ongoing. I don't think we're out of the woods at all on that at this point. I think we're moving in the right direction, certainly from where we were Friday. Government shutdown still a threat. Job market still weakening. I mean, there's still things that are in play here. That said, this came out, according to Forbes, and this just came out over the weekend, I believe. Trump indirectly owns about $870 million worth of Bitcoin, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind seeing it go up. This is through his 41% stake on Trump and Media and Technology Group, the parent company of Truth Social. So earlier this year, this is when the massive buys were going in. MicroStrategy was buying like billions of dollars every other day. So the Trump media made headlines by investing $2 billion in Bitcoin, using funds raised from stock and debt sales. This is a big change because it was not long ago, guys. Back in 2019, Trump actually criticized Bitcoin, saying it was highly volatile and based on thin air. Today, obviously, completely different tone. We've seen what they've been doing to push crypto forward. Obviously, his sons have made a lot of money as well. Bitcoin dominance looking at 59%. So that is moving back in the right direction, at least if you're holding alts. So like to see that. Speaking of that, guys, Solana has bounced back nicely, up over $208. I know Bob said that he bought some the Rex Osprey on the dip. Well done, sir. This thing got back down to like $173 during the crash. Obviously back up over 208 just a few days later. It's not too often, guys, we see flash crashes like that. So taking advantage of that generally is going to be a good move. Hate to catch a falling knife at the same time, but for those people, I saw somebody post, they're like, for anyone that massively bought that dip, you're either a genius or a maniac, because you never know. Those scary times end up being a lot of times the best time to buy, but also, man, it can be frightening to pounce when the market's dropping the way it did. But good to see things bouncing back. Now, this is something we already touched on, but Solana floor, they've been pretty good about staying on top of Solana news, but I'm saying that multiple Solana, Litecoin, ETFs, I think they meant to say ETFs here, are ready to launch once the government reopens or exchange move forward independently. So with the listing change, the rule changes, I think it is possible for them to move forward with the government shutdown, but it's looking like it could be improbable. So we have to really keep an eye on the government shutdown. Again, once that reopens, I would expect these will get passed pretty quickly. And I think that will just be could open the floodgates for institutional money to come in. Another alt, Avalanche, this thing really got wrecked in this drop. I want to say on some exchanges, it wicked all the way down to like $8, which is insane. Already back up to $23.86. Again, most people were not able to make purchases on the exchanges when the drop happened. They're having a lot of difficulty getting buy orders to go through. It's probably another reason why things dropped so much, because people couldn't offset the selling and the liquidations of everyone. And then this is the chart I talked about earlier. It's crazy. The similarities we're seeing with the flash crash in 2020 around COVID and what we saw at this flash crash. So you see, we have very similar structure in the chart, and then we saw this huge wick down the flash crash. We're seeing that recovery. In March of 2020, we saw the recovery gain support, and then things went absolutely parabolic. Now, will we see that again? I hope so, man. He's talking about we saw the 25 to 100x's, and back then that was that was true. There were a lot less projects, though, man. And he said maybe not 100x due to the millions of coins, but still good ones could still do 10 to 50x. I think that's probably true. Okay. But this is the key part, the good ones. It's going to be very sector specific. It's going to be very project specific. And I think it's going to be incredibly important to pay a close attention to what narratives are in play, in which projects are actually doing something real. Unfortunately, we still have to look at okay, utility does matter to an extent, but where are the communities, where are the narratives? I think eventually we will see for sure that the utility takes over at some point in time. I still don't think we're there yet. I hope we get there soon. But looking at Deepin in particular, and speaking of those potential projects, we're seeing a major bounce back today. Obviously, very ugly on the week, guys. So still down very much so on the week. But today has been kind of a nice recovery. Still a long way to go to get all the way back to where we were. Speaking of a couple of projects in particular, we have a Cash Network is ditching Cosmos. I think this is a really good move for them. I don't blame them. I don't know if you saw, but as that flash crash happened, guys, this thing wicked down to like 0.001, basically to zero. Someone had a bio order in there down there. So, I mean, think about that. That's crazy. But I don't blame them for wanting to shift chains. There's an article about this. Their founder is saying that Solana is a strong contender. I would imagine they'll go with either Solana or Base. Makes sense. We've seen a number of projects make that move. Helium, GeoNet more recently, move from other chains over to Solana. Demo moved to Base. So we're seeing this happen with a lot of different projects now, particularly in the Deepin space, moving to a chain with more liquidity that has a better community. And I think Solana and Base are going to be the clear winners here. He did go on to say, I think, to save face a little bit with Cosmos. To be clear, Cosmos has an incredible vision, good tech, and a great community. However, economic security model hasn't evolved since its launch 6 years ago. Blah, blah, blah. Goes on to say, I hope the community figures it out sooner than later, but, peace out. We kind of saw this with GeoNet where they made the announcement and there's a big sell-off because people that were holding on Polygon, I think there's a lot of, Polygon supporters in that community that were like, oh, you're leaving us, like, screw you, and sold off. I think they're maybe trying to avoid that here and not burn bridges on the way over, but it will be interesting to pay attention to where they go. Still down at 85 cents. Got down to just above 70 cents in this crash. Guys, that's bear market lows. A lot of these projects, bear market lows. For anyone that's been waiting to get in, this is a definite gift for those people. Obviously, a lot of people on the other end of that got absolutely destroyed with this drop that took place over the weekend. 375 AI, I'm rocking the shirt today. Guys, 250 million vehicles now observed. Of course, they have cameras going on billboards around the country. Huge milestone for them. They're going higher, though. The other thing about 375 AI, we went through the details a couple times already on this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but the pre-sale is ending today. Okay, so if you are outside of the U.S. or Canada, you can take part in that. It's on CoinList. Launching at selling at a 75 million fully diluted valuation. 50% of your tokens unlock at TGE, which is expected this month. So I'd imagine within the next couple of weeks, sometime later this month, the 375 AI TGE is taking place. I am planning on taking part in that for sure. Guys, Helium Mobile at the USC game. Entered the lookalike cam. Pretty cool. Price, I don't know that I care so much about the USC game, but it's bounced back a little bit from where we were. We have the revenue from Mexico is about to start hitting. The lower the price goes, the more deflationary it is. So at a certain point, I think market conditions are really, really holding it back right now. Will we see market conditions improve? The revenue continues to pick up. At some point, I have to think the market will realize it and price will reflect it. GeoNet released their Geo Measure unit. So $695 unit used by professionals, especially if you're in surveying. If you're a surveyor, it makes a lot of sense. RTK for a year is included in this. My understanding is that other hardware that's similar, far more expensive to use, to buy, and to utilize, that's tied to RTK. This did not move over, did it? There we go. Here we go. This guy does pretty good, has a good video on it, Osvaldo, so check him out. Mike Hord's the CEO, obviously. I think they retweeted it, so check out his YouTube video talking about the Geo Measure. So more utility being added for GeoNet. Man, they got destroyed. Anyone that was looking for an entrance into GeoNet, man, you had your opportunity. Still low in my opinion, but it got down to like 10, just over 10 cents. Absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal. This, like, that was, in my opinion, like the buying opportunity of the last 2 years. Getting in this project at 10 cents. It's ridiculous is what it is. It has been bouncing back, but still down over the last 7 days. Today, we're seeing it bounce up a little bit, but man, GeoNet, obviously one of my favorite projects in the space. What about Aoki? I've talked a lot about their recent developments, but man, this thing didn't even really drop that much. Like, it did get down to 0.017, I believe it was. And then it just said, nah, we're going back the other direction. This thing bounced so hard. I added a bunch right around 2.1 cents. I want to add more. I'm going to consolidate more. As I spoke about, I think it's going to be really important to trim positions that are underperforming at this point and really, really focus on the ones that are showing strength with community sentiment as well. And for me, there's a handful of those projects that I'm really focusing on adding to. Aoki being one. You got GeoNet, Rover. So Rover hasn't moved a whole lot. It's just been kind of holding tight. It did drop from the sell off over the weekend, but hasn't moved up a ton. I did just put this video out this morning actually on the Rover tokenomics. So for those of you that like the nitty gritty, like really geeking out on that stuff, I go through all the on-chain transactions on SoulScan, show you how you can find all that information and tie together the actual circulating supply, how to project out what circulating supply looks like, judging it against its peers, kind of doing some comparison, price projections, etc. So it's only about 13 minutes. If you're super into that stuff, I think you'll like that video. If you don't really care that much about the fine details, might not be for you. But I think it's important because you can use it not just for Rover, but other projects as well. So kind of goes into the details on that. Let's see. HiveMapper announced that they are, they announced that $19 a month plan where you get the B, the hardware, and the mobile plan included. For those of you that own a B, I think this is US only though. Yeah, in the US. But those of you that have a B, you can now get a Helium mobile plan for just $10 a month. And HiveMapper will manage that data on the back end for you. So that's pretty cool. I plan on definitely taking advantage of this. And HiveMapper prices got beaten down over the last 7 days, has not really recovered. We've seen a little bit of a bounce today from where we were. This is one, I have to say, like Rover and HiveMapper are doing similar things. Two totally different scenarios right now. You have HiveMapper where the vast majority of the major dilution is out of the way now. The investor tokens are fully unlocked have been sent out. Team unlocks are pretty much fully vested at this point. So you don't have to worry about a lot of dilution coming. So from here, as long as the fundamentals keep growing, the revenue keeps coming through the door, I think we should see things start to build like a nice foundation here, given the fact that we don't have all that dilution to worry about. Rover, on the other hand, what's interesting there is I think from a short-term perspective, there's a lot of upside because they haven't had the dilution yet. So, looking at the next, from now to the next 6 months, I think, if the market conditions really improve for DeepIn, Rover could have a really big run. Now, looking further out, it's going to not be too much different from HiveMapper. I think there's plenty of upside there, but I think the big multiples, they might not be there looking a year out because of the amount of dilution that's coming. So it will be interesting to watch both of those over the next 6 months to a year to see how the price action reacts to market conditions. I do like both projects. And by the way, my quarterly AMA with Ariel is pushed out to the end of the month. They've got some big announcements. I talked to Ariel about this. Got some big announcements coming in the next couple of weeks. So we pushed it out so we can cover everything because they've got some big stuff happening. So very exciting stuff there, man. I do think, HiveMapper's one, Rover, GeoNet, Aoki. Robotics to me is the clear, I guess, sector that I think is going to run. We saw a little bit of that before the market kind of dropped out here recently. And all of those play into robotics. You've got HiveMapper and you've got Rover collecting data to train autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles can be the biggest subsector of robotics. Aoki, I think, will lead the way in robotics when it comes to, the crypto markets. Now, there's some other honorable mentions, Peak being one. I don't own Peak, okay? And I it's not that I don't like Peak. I think that they have ambitious goals. I think that they will do well. They're in the robotics sector. I know there's a lot of people that love Peak, okay? I'm not a token holder myself. I think they can still do well, though. I'll say that much. Nadix is another honorable mention. I don't own Nadix, but I think Nadix can do well. Their founder's super sharp, and I think they're doing the right things. And I think they're collecting data. Their most valuable data is through Teslas, and again, they're selling data to train autonomous vehicles. So I think all of them. I think there's enough space for all of them to succeed. Okay, so those are two others that I would mention. I know a lot of people are saying Silencio is robotics. I don't buy that. I think that's like them shifting to try to hit the robotics narrative. Not that I don't like Silencio, but I don't really I don't put them in the same classifications as the other ones I covered. I'll put it that way. And tomorrow morning, guys, I'm going to be on with Neil from Havelo. We're going to go through the future of DeepIn. We're going to go through a bunch of different categories, highlight projects that we're bullish on, make a case for why. It should be a really good discussion, and I don't know, it could be an hour or two. I'm not really sure how long it'll go. Look at something we're looking to do quarterly, probably. So it will be recorded if you can't make it live, but 9 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow morning. So 8 o'clock for me here in the Central time. But definitely check it out, guys, if you can. I think it'll be a great discussion. Oh, man. But that's what I got for y'all, man. Big things happening. We've got some big token launches coming in Q4. I believe Deep Network may be having their launch. Exhibit should be 375 AI. Trying to think if there's any other ones I'm missing. Wingbits probably should be. Trying to think what other ones. I feel like there's one other one I'm missing. But Daba. Duh. Daba should be as well. So some big projects launching tokens. I kind of think that things could look really good, man. I think Uptober could be back on. We're seeing a nice bounce. We just have to hope that Trump doesn't send out any stupid tweets, man. Really. And the China situation kind of resolves itself. I hope that's what happens. But just know there's more volatility that could be coming, guys. I don't think that we're out of the woods here. But rest of October, certainly once the government shutdown ends, we get these spot ETFs out there. That could be really good. We have the crypto legislation, the market structure bill should be coming. Might be a different name than that, But plenty of catalysts still to come. All right, guys. I will see y'all tomorrow morning on the future of DPen, and then I will be on the stream tomorrow afternoon. Peace.